Start off with Strassman.
1854, Rick Strassman. So he wanted to demonstrate that you could safely give people hallucinogenics and learn from it.
Hallucinogens.
And he got the money from
the government.
This was almost the exact same podcast as the last time.
Is
he was
it?
on. Yeah, they just. I don't even
the
know
last
if they
time
talked
this
about
weird
anything new.
because he took 6 pee breaks. There were
Oh, yeah,
parts
that
where
was odd.
there were parts where they had talked for 20 minutes and then they were like, "Are we recording?"
There are a lot of breaks, a lot of
I
editing.
thought that maybe there were things he could and couldn't say for some reason, and that's why. Because sometimes it almost seemed like he was like, I can't.
Well, even then, there were times where they'd come back and you could tell they had been talking because
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, so I was telling you about the hash," and you're like,
So he
well,
didn't even take a pee break.
Yeah, yeah.
No, there was
well,
some
and then
weird
there was,
edits.
and then there was
some
one
weird
point
edits.
where he was like, "Jamie, don't put the camera on me," and I was like, "Is this guy shooting up in the studio right now, or like is something?"
Maybe he is. There were a lot of
Because it
edits.
was very. This was listen. As far as for the last 5 years of podcasts on Joe, this was the weirdest one as far as like
I
how the
agree.
content was laid out, the breaks. It was
If you're a conspiracy theorist. And the problem is, you know how Spotify sucks?
yeah.
So you
I
would
ever?
think, oh, maybe that was an ad that was supposed to go there that didn't fire or just Spotify skipped up. So I wasn't sure, but now you
How do you
confirmed.
spell that guy's name?
Rick
Strassman?
Strassman.
Oh, Strassman.
Yeah, I got the Rick part.
Strassman.
Kamar also.
STRA.
Strass, man.
I was listening to this up. This is the last one I listened to. I listened to it last night.
Same.
I'm not kidding. There was like a 20-minute stretch where the algo hit me with like 10 ads.
Yes, yeah, and then you'll listen to 4 hours. Some
Yeah,
ad.
and then but I was at the beginning. I was blown away. I was like, "There's got to be something wrong with the app right now," because like I got hit with 3 Athletic Greens ads, a DraftKings, a FanDuel. Like,
So I very rarely get ads until this episode, at which time
you
I
as
got
well.
10 ads.
So I wonder if all those edit marks are seen by the player, and so here's a good spot for there's an edit here. Let's put it in because I'd be interested to know from any episode you listen to, recording wise, how many edits there are in it. If it's an hour long
yes,
or whatever
right.
is there.
I like
Or
most of the
is
time.
there-
I'm assuming there are 0.
hundreds.
well, some are
Hundreds.
Yes. Like Mark Maron's is heavily edited.
Well, I know, but we're talking about Rogan's. We're not talking about.
No, and
Oh,
Rogan's.
no,
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 I'm not talking about Rogan.
I
I'm
meant
talking about the
podcast
average
world.
podcast.
Oh no, I'm
Sorry.
talking about Jamie and
No,
Rogan's
no.
podcast.
I
would say-
How many edits are there in a normal episode?
Rogan,
1, 2, 3,
Rogan rates
10?
highly as one of the most just unimpeded.
until
shows.
Straussman, and then we throw those numbers out the window.
Well, no, there's certain ones like Latrell was another one that kind of like ended abruptly and had like weird breaks. You know, where his
Who
wife,
is Latrell?
the Navy SEAL, that was like, remember he lost his whole fucking squad. Chris Latrell, he got drunk.
Oh, right.
Remember?
Yes, yeah. I
Your
remember.
guys' memories to recall this stuff is superhuman.
Not really.
He's the guy that had a catchphrase for everything.
Yeah, that's the guy.
I
He's
do not remember lots of. There was a weird edit at the end. Wow, how do you remember stuff you don't remember? Eh?
My point is, there's been a few episodes where there's been some weird, like, I mean, going to the bathroom that's fine.
Absolutely.
I just figured, I was like, maybe this guy's got diabetes or like some sort of,
I thought the same.
Well, he's an old man. Listen, you go to the
Yep.
bathroom a lot when you're an old man. I don't have a problem with the bathroom breaks. They just didn't seem like bathroom breaks. They seemed like times where he didn't want to say something, and then all of a sudden we were cutting. And then Matt's absolutely right. You'd come back and you're like, were these guys talking for like 20 minutes while we were gone?
Well, but we know because of one edit that clearly they were because of that.
About the hash, yeah.
Yeah, because because he says,
Hey,
hey,
he
are
talked
we
about the
rec-"
hash in 2 different periods of time, but it was sort of.
But even then, he
similarly
says
related.
to Jamie, hey, are we recording? And I was thinking, I was like, are we recording? You guys have been talking for like 20 minutes since your last break. Of course you're recording.
It was a trip.
Yeah, it was almost, yeah.
It was a psychedelic audio experience. You went in and out of realms.
So Simon, I'm so sorry. I just have a quick question for Simon. After listening to this guy, are you now
Less likely to do DMT.
really?
Yeah.
Well, this is what I was saying.
Because, listen, I'm going to tell you, all right? So remember I was telling you, Kamar's friend, our friend, I trust him. I like what he's kind of doing. I feel good about that. When we were out the other night, another friend is like, oh, no, don't worry about it. I have DMT.
I was,
And I'm-
dude, I
oh,
was
you were
just
there?
about to say that. Yep.
Where did you get it? Oh, I made it.
Yep.
Like, oh, no, you didn't. Anyways, so no, I'm less likely now.
That's what I thought. This was not an advertisement for it at all.
No.
And I thought was responsible in coming off that way. He wasn't like, this is the answer to everything, like more people on mushrooms are and whatnot. I mean, he talked about that he went crazy. He said, I like talking to crazy people because I went crazy and I had to be talked down. So there is that.
Well, that's my ultimate. Sorry, come here.
What if I do this and I'm never the same again? Like, that is a thing. But I think they did communicate it's from overuse. Like, so he was like, I've seen guys just do too much of it and go around the bend. But I think one time there's no danger.
No, again, I just want to know where it's coming from.
Knowing
not some guy's bathtub.
that it comes from your pineal gland, that they don't really know what that is there for, but it like does everything, and it's probably the home of consciousness as well. Just the whole idea of how can you hallucinate something you can't imagine.
How can you hallucinate something you can't imagine? That's
Like you
interesting.
could
yeah.
imagine anything you saw in a movie or anything that could be, but you see something that you can't.
Well, because you have things in your brain that you don't even know are there. Like, you know, when they say we use only 10% of our brain, I know that's a misnomer, but I think the point of that is like, we don't even know half of what even is going on in our brain. So,
it's interesting. It's interesting to think like, okay, so if DMT is in everything and we're all, it's controlling consciousness, right? So we're all just on this trip together. Then like, what are we? Like, where are these sacks? Because like, obviously the DMT is within this sack of meat and we're all like, is the world real?
Is it just random? I know
And I gotta say,
talk about it is trippy.
I spit water out laughing so hard when he was like, yeah, I know one guy that did it so much that the entity started telling him, don't come back. I started laughing so hard because in my head I was picturing this guy going into this realm where they're like, love, love. And then the 5th time he's there, they're like, all right, he's back. Okay, love, love. And then like on the 27th time he comes in, they're like, buddy, not again.
yeah, not you, motherfucker.
Well, that's an interesting thing too, that it has this, but when they were talking about their experiences, I'm concerned that I heard this before I took DMT, because they repeated sort of things that I thought that I experienced.
But I think that's the thing.
That was
isn't it?
just weird. And what's the consistency? I like that he said, because I've mentioned there's some sort of droning rhythmic beat, and it's probably your heart.
I mean, don't you think that the fact that everybody kind of sees these same things on DMT, that like that should correlate into the fact that it's coming from the DMT and not necessarily like we all have the same thing inside us. It's not a shared trip. It's this is what this drug does.
If you drink alcohol, you get drunk.
If you take, yeah, sure, exactly.
Mm-hmm. No, that's the weird thing is what he got into, which you must have been somewhat interested in, that it's like been around longer than we have. Like our whole all the internet, everything we have, people have been doing this.
And how on the fuck did those people who lived in the jungle, who were supposed to not be able to do nothing, manage to find the 2 plants that together, I'm talking about ayahuasca now, like you need one for the other.
A lot of people died. And
They don't like grow next to each other, wrapped amongst each other, you know?
But I think that it's a simple explanation, is just trial and error.
No, I think simple explanation is like that was passed down through the ages as, you know, this is what
Which
you do.
means it's important.
Can I tell you something, Simon? It could also, just bear with me here. There's always the chance it's just dumb luck.
Yeah, Occam's razor. No, what's the other one? Never put to conspiracy.
Well, there's
what you can put to human error.
a chance there's
Hanlon's
another
razor.
2 plants that do something even better for all of us.
Yeah.
Listen, there are so many plants in the rainforest that they find all the time, new, that they've never seen before, new species. One of those could be the cure to cancer. Like I'm telling you, my dad, they were doing like research at one point on some crazy drug down in South America or whatever that had to do with they were getting like really good depression reactions from it. And then it was like a race to I don't know what it ended up turning into, because this was years ago. It's probably like Zoloft or something, but Yeah, that's how that shit works, man. And then people run down there and they try and like get the patent on the plant. I don't know exactly how it works, but
He must have mentioned in the last episode, but the Controlled Substances Act of 1970 is like a crazy turning point in just our existence.
yeah.
Like a decision made for better, for worse, whatever. I don't know, but that's why 69 is.
Who was the president when that happened, Kamar? Do you know?
I think it was Nixon. I think
What
it would have been
what year
Nixon
was
that.
it?
Still 1970. But the year before they went to the moon, and then like what was it like for those 10 years or those first 20
That
years?
wasn't Nixon. I don't
I'm
think
gonna
so.
tell you. Yeah, Nixon. He's right.
interesting.
1970.
But like from 69 till say 50. I mean, it feels like before 1950, life was black and white.
It was.
Well, I mean,
no pun intended.
but it just
Or pun intended.
reality, like it hadn't been touched by the money.
It hadn't been so soiled yet by the industrial complex.
The parties and the trips that were happening in 1970, and then since 1970, it's all been stunted. And who knows? Like he's saying, the longest anyone's ever done it is like a half hour. That trip, that like, and it was interesting. He said when you inhale it, you freak out too fast. Like it happens so fast you can't even process to take the other 3 hits.
So if you take a step back and you think about it, like looking in as an observer,
Observer.
the hippie movement, this was them trying to be reintroduced to society, right? The way it probably had been throughout time, where the church came in and crushed it, and then you'd have people who brought it up again. What don't you understand?
The hippies, the government was trying to reintroduce hippies into society.
No. The hippies were trying to reintroduce psychedelic,
Let low, cut loose.
the plant medicines, all of that
in the
stuff.
50s, everyone had got so rigid and
Just like the witches were trying to do in Salem, they got snuffed out, and then the hippies get snuffed. This is just a repeating pattern over time of this, like plant medicine trying to come back up and then being crushed by whatever power is.
What I wanted to know is whoever's researching this stuff, do they have access to all the information the CIA has?
No,
From
they
those
do, no,
like,
they do
what-
not.
And they owe it to give up that information, like barring incrimination or fucking being
I
incriminated.
feel like all of the shit that the government was running,
Destroyed.
it was all no, but the ends were for no good. So it feels like the data is just fucking tainted to begin with.
I would
you
say
know?
the data is the data regardless. There's valuable stuff they know about hallucinogens.
What a sweet time to be alive, though. Think about it. There's barely any STDs, and the government is giving out acid.
Mm-hmm.
Like Joe talks about it, like, yeah, I mean, Charlie Manson, you know, okay, couple bad apples, but in general, like, imagine if you were alive. Imagine if you found out that you were like, the government was just giving us free weed for like
No
a decade.
phones, minimal TV. Everyone was just out.
Yeah.
Outside.
Well, as soon as I found out that the government was trying to do it, I would be very skeptical of the whole
Yeah,
thing.
but you wouldn't know till 10 years after. And if you were getting high at the time appropriately, would you give a shit?
Well, again, that just seems like a fucking really evil way to kind of dupe and sedate your
Oh,
populace.
I'm
you
not
know?
saying I'm for it. I'm just sitting there saying, if you're looking back and you're like, you were a hippie at the time, you're like, yeah, I was getting a lot of free acid. Like, I don't know. That's not the worst.
But all those drugs are still out there now, plus more.
Yeah, wait, dude, I watched a piece the other day on what's going on in the streets right now, and it's so scary.
Fentanyl.
It's not even fentanyl. Now it's fentanyl mixed with benzos. That's what's killing people. And then in the States, it's this xylazine. It's like a horse tranquilizer that they add to the fentanyl because it's legal in China. Because China can't make fentanyl anymore.
So before controlled substances, everyone's freaking out, but whatever, there's some semblance of order. And now everything's controlled and it's out of control.
Yeah, seriously, it's a real oxymoron. Yeah, I guess. But we were talking about Reagan last week.
I knew this was going to come.
No, but really, like, just calmly, really calmly, so it doesn't seem crazy. When you think about that guy, that actor that they made into president, no experience, no nothing, just literally an actor. He was in a fucking movie with a monkey, you know, that was his claim to fame. He put in every thing that is now wrong with the United States, and nobody is looking back and like saying,
Yeah, but they moved a lot of money in the right direction.
"Oh no, for sure."
They moved a lot of money.
If you're a
in the direction
conspiracy
they wanted.
theorist, though, how do all roads not lead to Ronald Reagan? You know, I really think they do, man.
Well, do you think in another 5 years people are going to wake up to this, or it's like the train has left the station?
I have no idea. I assume so. Like everybody's always looking for the next big thing.
Well, this would be a great book to write for Democrats.
All roads lead to Reagan.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like it too. People are freezing their brain. Would you guys ever think about that if you had fuck you money was part of your?
No.
What's the point? And like they said, if you froze your brain and you went into like Nirvana or Utopia and you're just chilling, and then they thaw you out, you come out and they're like, sorry, you're here.
Well, that's what scares me about cremation is like, you know, you do it, you get cremated, and then you get up there and they're like, oh yeah, we just need that toe off your body to let you get into heaven.
It's
oh,
the magic,
fuck,
it's the magic key. No, that's not gonna happen.
It's floating in a river in like 50 million pieces.
But if your brain,
You're God, figure it out.
if your brain is in a computer, like what problems do you have?
But maybe your brain's in a computer right now.
But no, I'm thinking a brain in a computer. I'm thinking doesn't get hungry, doesn't feel tired.
And you got 99
you're,
problems.
You're assuming like you can program all that in. You do get tired. You do get hungry. That's what I'm saying. Right now, we could all be in a, like, you don't know that, like Simon's fucking dinosaurs making the subway. You can't say definitively that we aren't in a simulation.
I'm not trying to push
That's
back.
that's actually Brett's dad's.
It's
Just,
fine. Whoever it is.
I use it.
My point is very simply that we can't say it definitively. So you could, for all intents and purposes, right now be in a simulation that is a computer, and you're feeling hungry or angry or sad or whatever.
I think there's a parallel between people talking about UFOs,
Yeah.
or talking about psychedelic experiences. Like the stigma, if I tell you this crazy trip and maybe there's some grain of great knowledge and wisdom, or it's just mumbo jumbo, you're not taking it seriously. Oh, you tripped out. Like, will there be a time when people will go and like come back with information for people en masse? Like, professional trippers. If it is another dimension, if it is ancient wisdom that we've been pushing ourselves
Well,
away
don't you
from.
think people would have come back with that information already? People have been doing this for, even in our...
Maybe it's out there, but would you take it seriously if someone told you, yeah, I did diarrhea and puke?
What?
You know, ayahuasca, sometimes you're sick, but you trip out and you come through the realizations. Because you saw that...
It doesn't matter what I don't think what someone else sees can affect you.
Aaron Rodgers just did it recently. And that's interesting. He seems like an accomplished guy, happy, and like he said it improved him. So on that idea, is controlled ayahuasca, everything, is that something you're interested in?
No, I have no interest in shitting and puking those, or diarrhea, and I love shitting, but the I don't like all of that.
Flex.
You know, the puking. I'm not a puke guy. Like peyote has never appealed to me because I know part of the process is just fucking losing everything inside you.
How about this? Let me ask you a better question. If you knew with almost certainty that like one ayahuasca trip, so all you had to do it was once, you're going to throw up, okay? You'll get through that, then you'd never smoke a cigarette again.
Ooh. What an easy way out.
Like Kamar's buddy on the mushrooms. You know what I mean? Like if you just knew, if you knew this specific dose, I'm going to have that terrible 20 minutes of vomit and feeling awful.
No, I don't like the puking.
Wow. Smoke on, baby.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I'd try it on mushrooms first where I don't have to puke, or DMT or something.
Do you guys know about those Navajo code runners?
The
Yeah, they
code
made a movie
talkers?
about it.
Wind talkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
They made a movie with that Canadian Matt.
yeah. Oh,
Jesus.
my wife knows him.
Knows a wind talker?
No, the Canadian
No, the
actor that
guy
was in
there.
the movie. He's a
Yep.
Canadian.
And they won the war.
Adam
Beach. Adam, what is it? Beach yet?
Adam Beach. That's him. He was. Did nobody else but a Canadian would know this show? North of 60. Did anybody watch
Of course,
that?
yeah.
It was one of my faves.
With the Mountie?
With the Mountie. Yeah.
I sat
In
beside him on a
Alaska?
plane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nice
No,
try.
that's another. What was that
No,
one?
there's two Mountie shows. You're thinking of
No, I'm talking the one with like the dude. He's like in a Mountie outfit.
yeah, that's not North
that's
of
not the
60.
one?
North
Okay.
of 60 is up on the res.
Oh yeah, I remember which one you're talking about now. Yeah, with that classic Canadian.
It had tons of Canadian,
yeah,
but it
yeah,
had
yeah.
the one
The Native American dude with the big head.
Canadian, actually, Native Canadian.
Sorry, Native.
Yeah.
My apologies.
With the big
to
head,
him.
exactly.
Yes, you know exactly who I'm
Kind of
talking
looks
about.
like. Anyways, yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
I think of Northern
You were
Exposure.
thinking of. I'll come
Northern
back to you.
Exposure. That's the one I was thinking of. That's what it was called.
Northern Exposure doesn't have a Mountie.
I think it does.
Northern Exposure is the one where they're in the small little town in Alaska.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what you're thinking of.
Okay,
Don't
please
tell
do.
him yeah, okay? Because it's no.
There's one with a cop at a Mountie.
Yes, I'm going. Okay, enough. Move on with your next point.
By the way, all the shows we're talking about are terrible.
Not North of 60.
Oh, Northern Exposure is awesome.
And so is Northern Exposure.
Hear me out. Hear me out. They're shot like Canadian television was shot pre 2010,
It's about the story.
which was very difficult to watch.
Hey, what's the one you just said,
You
Kamar?
just told me to shut
Northern
up.
Exposure.
That's an American show. It's not a Canadian
Yeah,
show.
but there's I think
Really?
there's a Mountie that
Okay.
is on.
You're
the
thinking
border.
of Due South.
Due South.
That's
Thank
the
you.
one,
That's the
okay?
guy I sat
Okay,
beside.
Kamar, you happy now? Paul Gross. That's who you
That's who I sat beside.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
that
you.
is correct.
Thank you, Simon. I appreciate you looking that up.
No problem.
I think there is a Mountie.
I did
in,
it more for me than for you, but
Northern
you're
Exposure.
welcome.
Fair enough.
He talked about doing the Jaguar, which is a little bit of the
That's crazy.
MTO DMT, which is the one that is the death that
Is
Mike
it
Tyson talked
is
about.
it MTO?
Doesn't matter
No,
what it is.
I don't think it is.
You're not doing it.
M&E-O.
MNEO.
Yeah, M&E-O.
But we're that sort of is that the plant in our head telling us to mix stuff like it remind me of a candy flip or whatever the combinations of drugs like we do, like we're just prone to
I don't. No.
it's human nature.
I think
to get-
I think it's different with designer drugs than it is with natural drugs.
it's a lot more dangerous. with
well, no.
designer
What
drugs.
I'm saying is I could see the plant gods telling you to mix these two things. I don't think heroin tells you to mix with fucking coke to get the best high. You know what I mean?
Ask a heroin junkie. You never know.
No, I guess. It just seems a lot less natural, I guess, is my point.
That's
I know
true,
they
yeah.
still come from plants, but they've been so fucking processed by that point.
He asked Joe what gives him hope, because I forget what the last one was, but it's been a lot of doom and gloom on the podcast.
Well, Joe keeps saying Civil War. Like, dude, stop saying it, first of all. Like, it's
Well,
like you're wishing this into fucking existence. Stop saying Civil
think the
War.
thing is just how social media isn't real, but it's real.
Okay.
The Civil War is on social media.
That's
It's
where it
a
will be
social
fought
media-
as well.
That's what. No, it's happening as we speak.
Earlier today,
Battlefields have been purchased in the metaverse.
1,500 Democrats were killed on Twitter by a mob of angry right-wing conspiracy theorists. Like, I don't. Maybe. I agree with you. That is where the war is happening. But
But war in the streets is like over fast. If it's just between ideologies of conservatives and Democrats or Republicans and Democrats, because the Republicans have all the guns.
not if you're in the inner city.
It really would make sense, though, if Trump and what's his name, Alex Jones, had been communicating just text, because they're buddies. And Trump had said, oh, yeah, when I left, I took a bunch of shit. And when his phone records were, because remember I said they sent him
Yeah, of course,
immediately
yeah.
to the January 6th commission? And then they raided his house. Like, all of these things are happening. It makes perfect sense to me.
Well, I think they have all the information now because they raided his house and they raided Alex's phone. So
That piece
if
of
there's been
They didn't
wrongdoing-
raid Alex's phone. Alex's phone was given up by
Same
his lawyer,
difference.
which I wonder. I heard another thing. Anyways, go on. We'll talk.
I
about it
heard
later.
I sent Simon a headline this week that was just so oddly written. It was like Trump has been raided for taking stuff with him from the White House.
That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
But that taking stuff is like a
top
treasonable
secret. Yeah,
offense.
I know.
But they said it's like papers. I'm like, he doesn't read papers. Like, why would he take it? Someone else he knew took it. I just wonder why he would want to look at these documents unless he's doing something nefarious.
I have a lot of folders. I took a lot of folders.
I mean, I'm sure Putin would be very interested in maybe some top secret nuclear files.
I'm sure he would, and maybe that's what he did. And if they're gonna get him,
No,
this is the one.
I'm trying to counteract your idea of Trump not taking something. Why he's not that stupid.
I don't believe like he's hard up for money, but maybe he is.
I don't think it's a money thing.
He's just want to be friends with
And
hard up for
we
money.
do know that he was in massive debt.
and he thought he could get away with stealing nuclear.
Oh, I don't
secrets.
know if he stole anything. It might all be Fugazi.
I
I
think
don't
it's
think
gonna be
it's such a
Fugazi.
far stretch to imagine that going down.
I just went to the whataboutism. Was like, why don't they raid Nancy Pelosi's house and get to the bottom of her husband's
Oh, they
stock
absolutely
success?
should do that.
And that'd feel better. Back to the podcast.
Back to the podcast.
It'd be interesting to know how much our senses have deteriorated over the last 100 years because of technology and just our comfort. Like how much better we could smell, see, hear.
I'm sure we used to have six. How many senses do we have?
5.
Well, we used to have 7.
Taste.
So you think
touch,
we had
smell.
2 that disappeared and
sense?
the
I
other
don't know.
5 are now deteriorating?
Yeah, and you're just losing them slowly but surely, you know?
I'm surprised there's no. How would you tell? Because I think they just deteriorate with age as well. Like, it's not like a 90-year-old person that has better senses.
Well, like you don't have your smell so you can go out and smell fancy fucking pies. You know what I mean? That's not why it's built into you. It's
Smell
built into
danger.
you to hunt or to whatever the fuck it is.
Smell something toxic.
Something to survive. It's not.
Yeah, but
you don't have fucking eyes to stare at screens. You have eyes to keep you alive.
Can I counter this? And I know you're going to say we don't have records that far back, and you're right. That's fine. But like, I mean, in some senses, we've gotten better. Like, think about the 100-meter dash.
yes.
Well, 100 years ago, they ran it in like 14 seconds. That was
Because
like
of training and
that was like the
exercise,
fastest time, and technology and
technique has gotten
shoes and
better.
stuff. Yeah. So now guys are running it in under 10. Now I get it. I know you're going to say like we don't know for sure that some Aztec way the fuck back couldn't, but you could argue that, you know, shoes like Nike shoes are going to help you run a shitload faster than just your bare feet or flip flops or sandals or
Or
something.
someone would wear bare feet.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah, totally. But like running in a straight line, unimpeded, who fucking cares? Like I'm sure there were
we have hurdles. I
native
mean,
Canadians who could run the plains while fucking throwing a spear at a buffalo.
that's
you
not
know?
my point. My point though is like you can't just say across the board that we're getting shittier in all senses in all areas.
No, I think what he's saying
main
is like
senses.
your hearing, your smell, your vision. I think those things are all probably like we don't have to use them as much anymore. We don't need to use our vision to see eagles coming to steal our babies. We use it to stare at a screen that is this far
I would
away
say
from
screens
us.
have hurt our vision. I was thinking like with hearing, there would have been a generation in the war that heard lots of guns and had bad hearing.
Earphones are probably killing your hearing and you
Earphones,
don't even know it.
Amplification of music in general. It'd be a lot harder to listen to something really loud. The only thing they'd have is maybe air sirens and engines.
But again, like I think just like evolution, I think some people were born because their ancestors had crazy great hearing. I think some people are just born with better hearing than the rest of us. Some people have incredible vision,
sure.
but I think I don't know.
You think the senses are as good as they've ever been?
No, I think we've lost certain ones for sure. I think it's evolutionary, right? Like you don't like you said, we don't need to smell like we used to, so we probably have lost. There's a candle right behind.
Like
you.
we probably used to be able to taste through our fingertips, and that just doesn't exist anymore.
That's possible.
Like some
yeah.
sort of bug.
Sure.
Or even better yet, maybe we used to have like, because that seems crazy.
Well, it doesn't.
But
It's just
maybe-
you're tasting shit all the time because you're
Maybe
walking
we
around.
used to have like a sonar, or that's the type of sense we may have had
Sure.
and lost, right?
But keep in
Something
mind
that we just don't need anymore because everything is so convenient. I'm sorry.
But I was gonna say, like, when you have a sonar, you know, it's like a balance. Like when you have a sonar, you don't need great eyes because you probably like a bat use the sonar
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of your. So we have a nice balance that's gotten us to the top of the food chain.
Exactly, sure. But we also so humans at some point, instead of our bodies progressing to change, we have made change happen for us. And I wonder if has stunted
And some think
our,
that's the
our
brain
need
growing
for any more evolution, you know?
Through
Because
hallucinogenics.
Like I spent too much time this week thinking about how a T-Rex has very short arms and no opposable thumbs, and how they would weld the subway tracks together. And I was like, what am I even wasting my time for this?
They
But
use their feet.
Okay, well, I mean, if you really want to go
I
there,
don't.
Matt,
I really don't.
the idea that the T-Rex had these tiny little arms, like we take that from one fault. I'm just saying, maybe there was another.
But why? We know. Hold on. But we
Okay.
know they were bird-like, right? So if a flightless bird probably has like short, stubby, little useless arms or wings.
Again, we might be talking about the dying embers of those dinosaurs. Maybe the original dinosaurs were much more human-like and had thumbs and were able to build subways.
Just see how
we just
convenient.
don't
But stop.
know.
But
We
it's
don't
so
know.
weird to be like, we have these fossil records, but like, how good are they? What if there was a super dinosaur hundreds of millions of years before that had multiple thumbs?
We have so few fossils of dinosaurs, and we just like everything else that humans do when it comes to history, we have to extrapolate off the tiny little bit that we have. It's just possible that we have it all wrong. Maybe we were looking at the pets of the dinosaur overlords, like who built the subways.
Or maybe we're looking at literally just there weren't that many of them because
Or
they were
dinosaurs
so
were
big. Maybe
like
we found all of them. We don't know
Dinosaurs
that.
are like cockroaches.
Yeah,
They're just
exactly.
little remnants. Because if the thing hits the Earth, there was a crazy society with technology better than ours now,
Sure.
and something hits the Earth, there are no remnants of that.
But wouldn't you argue that if they had way better technology than us, they would have figured out a way to divert said? Like, we're already trying to figure that
I
out.
would agree with that.
I mean,
hypothesis.
some things are probably just out of control in the.
I get
in
it.
the
I'm just saying, if you're
universe.
going with that, remember that dude who was like, you have a tier 1, tier 2,
Yeah.
whatever, tier 3 society, like, or civilization. Like, if they had gotten to tier 2, then there's
We have a long way to go to tier 2.
he's only said like 1,000 years or something.
No, but I'm just saying we could have had a civilization that was
understand.
equally advanced
I get
but
it.
different,
Yeah.
that was nowhere near a tier
about
2
this?
and would have no ability to control the.
Sure.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
the
I'm with you.
asteroids
Listen, they
and
could have been
stuff.
500 years short of the tier 2 and gotten hit by an
they
asteroid.
existed
Okay.
and said, "Okay, well, we got to go. We can't stop this thing. So we're all out of here. We'll come back here in
We're going to Mars.
a billion years when the dust settles." Then
Interesting. And
other-
these
other
are the
things happen.
aliens that are coming back now to see.
And they're like, oh, we survived.
They were like,
just look
holy
weird.
shit, this place is supposed to be empty.
They really took a step back there.
How'd they figure out
You know
nukes?
that sarcastic. I like what you did with the place.
Well, if they were the lizard people, right?
Yeah.
Like we would be so much different from them. It wouldn't even make sense. We would be a whole different species.
look at
not
their
an,
skin. It's
not
all
an evolution
sticky and
of
gross.
them. We'd be our own kind of thing that now took over the world. This is all making a lot of sense.
boom, breakthrough. Thank God for Strassman. Is there a way for psychedelics to go mainstream?
Of course, they're almost there.
We're so close.
We are so close.
Does it need celebrity
You
endorsements?
saw cannabis go mainstream.
Matt
and
Rogers, Aaron Rodgers,
We are
rather.
so close.
Cannabis was always mainstream. Shut the fuck up. It just got legalized.
Well,
But that we were talking about the other week. People
on.
do something just because
When
it's
it gets-
illegal.
Yeah, but hold on. When cannabis was illegal, if you had taken a huge sample size of your average taxpayer, I guarantee you it comes back close to 50% smoke a little bit of pot in a year.
I think most people wouldn't admit it in your little survey. First of all, if it wasn't legal.
Well, I'm
because
saying it's
that's
an
how
if
people
you did
are.
an anonymous survey, like never going to come back to you, I guarantee you it was close to 50% in Canada.
Okay, sure. Okay. It wasn't mainstream in advertising. It wasn't mainstream.
I'm not talking
in
about
talking.
advertising.
It
God, I
wasn't.
hate you.
Well, that's what mainstream is.
The devil's in the details. It'd be,
But yes, Kamar, to
it's-
answer your
it's
question, I
knocking on the-
absolutely think
it's on the
coming.
doorstep.
And the microdosing is what will. You're not going to sell it at first on people tripping out because that's too far a first step. But microdosing, where you don't even feel it, but you feel better, that is like such a
What would be
no-brainer.
really interesting too is through the research if they can find out, oh, you shouldn't do this, you should do this.
Like what drug to
your
try?
genetics have a tendency,
Interesting.
whatever, and only through testing can we tell. People with blood type C really react well to this one, where A positive, whatever it is. I don't even know my blood types, but just something in those details.
Yeah, but back to Ronald Reagan, there's too many people that were like around back then that were part of the drug war or like believed in it. Like my stepdad, he would never, like if my stepdad became severely depressed and you told him like I could help you with mushrooms, he'd be like, I'm just going to be depressed.
because he doesn't believe that mumbo jumbo, or he doesn't want to go crazy.
It's a drug to him. Wouldn't,
Yes.
Can't do a drug.
Well, thank
No,
God.
but
Drugs
if
are
the
bad.
drug comes from your doctor, isn't that the same as taking
Like
fucking
Advil.
I still don't think-
naloxone or
Yeah,
whatever?
Exactly.
I still don't know if he would. I'm telling you. Like my little brother. My little brother could benefit from mushrooms a great deal, but like he too is like, it's a drug, and I don't
Yeah.
do drugs.
Oh no, but it's when it becomes legal, then it's no longer a drug. It's a more of a medicine, right?
Thank God for the military industrial complex,
Yeah, thank God for that, man. Big oil. Good for you guys.
because they've created.
Don't forget Big Pharma. That was awesome too.
Yeah.
The
guys are all great.
the military industrial complex have caused such a problem with like 6,000 troops a year killing themselves that they have vested interest in this going forward. In a weird way, like
They have no interest in helping their own people, or they would be trying to do it right now.
they
All you hear are fucking horror stories about guys coming back from the war and being totally forgotten by their fucking country.
but I think they're scrambling, and I think this is
Soft way
they're having
underbelly.
breakthroughs with psychedelics and helping people with PTSD.
Oh, listen,
PTSD and stuff like that.
I wish that was the case, man, but that's not why they're doing this. They're doing this because they see a fucking market to make money.
Oh, it's leaning into big pharma.
and the
But hold on. Just can I quickly though? In a way, there's nothing wrong with that side of the market. Like, hear me out. So let's say Nancy Pelosi and all her cronies invest deeply in mushrooms or psilocybin or whatever. Okay, they invest deeply, then they push it so that veterans can get it to help. I know that's a
That's
shitty.
why I said thank God for the military industrial complex. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's a shitty way of looking at it. I get it, but if it can solve the problem with veterans with PTSD, and Nancy Pelosi's already fucking stupid rich, and that we're never gonna solve that side of it anyway. Why not help some veterans in doing it, right?
I think so.
yeah,
we gotta
I guess
gotta
there's no
hope.
problem with
Like I said, Simon, if Nancy Pelosi is already fucking us in the market, let's at least help some people out in the doing of it. Like,
No matter how we get there, at least we got there.
yeah. Like if Nancy Pelosi could make $100 billion a year of soup kitchens, that would be fucking great.
She's still gonna make her money. When Joe talks about the
How the sorry, hold on. How the fuck? Like everybody knows Nancy Pelosi must have been doing insider trading. There can't be any doubt about that at this point. And everybody
Go
just
on.
ignores it.
just like everyone knows Trump's done something bad and they're going after him.
Okay, that you didn't say anything that made sense.
They've gone after him for 4 years plus now.
Yeah.
If there was a competent cop or something, they'd get him on something.
Well, so this is where I'll just
And she benefits from the same. You can't catch me.
I'm not sure I understand still.
The pursuit of Trump has been since the day he got elected.
Correct.
They've been trying to arrest him, get rid of him, whatever.
Russiagate, the hookers, the this, the
And
that.
yet he's still walking around his house golfing today. And I think he will continue. If he gets arrested, I'll actually be surprised at this point. But whatever, we know he's done something shady and bad, right? He must have. But no one.
But we don't know exactly what he's done. We know what Pelosi's done. It's right there. It shouldn't even be hard
But
to
has she
prove.
had the FBI and the CIA investigating her for the last 4 years? So if she has even had that,
yeah, but hold on. But she plays the game with them. That's the only difference.
yeah. Well, we get into that with.
Well,
that
she
was another.
is them.
No. But my point is, as
She
soon
is
as
them.
Trump got in, didn't he he had the thing with Mueller, and he was trying to fire like the head of Trump.
He tried to clear house with the whole fucking
is my
CIA.
point. This
like
is
what
my
he's doing
point.
good. You guys haven't seen the guy on
FBI,
the,
CIA.
Lex, I saw
the
him.
guy most recently.
It's a great no, not the most recent, the second most.
You're talking about the guy with the ponytail on
Yeah.
Lex, the guy with
No,
the
with the
curly.
big-
whatever,
I've
yeah.
heard him on other things before.
Very interesting. He articulates ways that Trump wasn't the worst person in the world as a president.
I saw, where he was talking about how he was
I would
like
love to see him with Mike Baker
he wanted to.
on
Well,
Joe.
yeah, we'll
Well,
get to that after.
my skepticism remains the same for both of those guys. Because if I was the CIA,
Yep.
I would pick a guy just like that to say things exactly like that, right? Like he's the perfect
Misinformation.
misinfor back again nation, you know?
But it's a really interesting talk. And even when Joe talks about if we ought to go to leaders, hey, let's not help a country for a year and just put all our resources into ours, and we'll let them falter for a year, and then when everything's fixed in our country, then we'll go back to that. Why not?
Yeah. You shouldn't be out fighting any wars if you have this much homelessness in your own country.
And we have our own issues here as well. I don't know if you see what's going on.
Are we out fighting wars?
I think the problem is that they're like, we're throwing adequate money at homelessness and we're still not fixing it. Money's not the problem.
So
I think we've realized that from California. Money is not the issue.
No,
San
money
Francisco-
is the issue.
No, it is not.
Yeah, it's just about how you spend that money.
I think it's shelter. That's the biggest
Well,
issue.
what do you think make shelters? Money.
No, but you're not, listen, you're not even
Or
fixing
people
the,
to build the shelters.
you're not fixing the problem by sheltering people. They're still drug addicts. You need to fix the overlying addiction issue before you can do anything. If you can't get people off drugs, they won't get off the street. It doesn't matter if you give them.
No, the going idea now, and they tried it in some state. I don't remember which one. They had really good results. You get them a house first. The house comes with a therapist that they have to go to. Like it's hand in hand. But you can't ask somebody to like try and be clean but not have a place to live. It's just they don't
I
compute
understand
together.
that. I get it.
So I'm with you. I think you just have to flip, you know?
I'm just saying you can't listen. I'm just saying that right now, like if you look at San Francisco, the amount of money that they dump into trying to fix
and they
their
have all
problem-
those companies that I'm sure lending money.
But
or
they had,
donating money.
was it Collion
Silicon
Noir
Valley.
who showed the amount that like they get and like it's wasted. It's all goes to like,
Administration.
yeah, their system is fundamentally broken. Like
Not for the people making the money.
millions of dollars. I said fundamentally broken. Millions and millions of dollars go into these causes and then get spread out amongst like so many sticky fingers.
Focus groups.
Yeah,
Or whatever. I don't know what.
I'm just saying though. I still don't think like
I think that's.
I mean, here,
I don't
I'll-
want to kick a dead horse, but that would be an easier thing to eradicate than racism.
Way easier, Kamar. Yeah, you're not beating a dead horse.
First of all, if we're throwing money at something, if we're not giving money away to any foreign entities for a year, we have a massive infrastructure problem in North America that no one really wants to talk about. They just tried to give it $1 trillion, but obviously it was that thick. But if we just said we need to fix all the bridges, dams, highways,
The work and just the infrastructure. Yeah.
like first of all, the amount of jobs you create there alone is huge because
Do you have a go ahead, don't worry about the climate for this period, the next 5 years of infrastructure building, or do you still have restrictions on that?
well, I don't okay, I'm not a fucking builder, so I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? I wonder now when we're trying to shut everything down, is it impeding us from making the progress we want, trying to save the planet?
Yeah, you've mentioned that many times that you think us trying to save the planet is impeding us. What if there is no planet for us to live on? Then what have we
There
done?
is no planet for us to live on. Well, that
Like you've mentioned it, the
that's
planet doesn't care
inevitable.
about us.
That is going to happen.
Yeah, but if you can, Kumar, if we can get there in 20 years or 200 years, which one should we go for?
Which one's more fun?
Got the broken leg over here.
I feel like it's like, even if like in the next 10 days we were to do everything we know what we think scientifically we could do to save the planet,
Yeah.
it's still going to be as bad as it is now. We're not reversing it.
Let me ask you a question. That garbage patch floating around the ocean, do you think they should bother cleaning it up?
I think they are. I think that
No. That's not what he asked you. Yes, they 100% are. Do you think they should?
yeah, I've always said the ocean, cleaning up the ocean. I've said they should stop fishing for a year. I've always said the ocean. I just don't think we can cool the planet or stop this process.
But here, let me give you an
The
example.
ocean, I don't. Maybe they're one and the same. Maybe if you get all the plastic out of the ocean, that'll cool the planet.
But can I give you an example, Kamar? Like we realized we were fucking the barrier reef up. We realized that we were bleaching all of it. It was a big problem. This year they reported the Great Barrier Reef has seen more growth than it has in like the last 100 years. So my point though is we did a simple thing where we said, we have created this fucking massive issue. We need to stop right away.
He agrees with you. It's the ocean. You're saying like we can't save mountains. Mountains be damned, forests be damned, forest fires, whatever.
I need more flooding. We'll talk about it in the post show.
Flooding,
That,
sure-
that
sure.
Lake Mead thing is so interesting that you're talking about on John Oliver.
I told you it's nuts, right?
Where does it go? Well, we'll talk about it in the
And
post
the
show.
longest river in France dried up. Did you see that?
No.
Just nothing. No water.
But keep
at
in
all.
mind,
I don't know
they
if
had
that's
the
true.
wildest heat wave.
Well, again,
Where does it go?
this is what we're talking about, right?
But let me give you an example. Like there was, the French league started yesterday. So they haven't played a game in 3 months, right?
On
They've
dry
had,
grass?
No, they postponed a game because the pitch was too dry. And in my head, I'm like, you guys had 2 months to water this fucking pitch.
No
This
water.
is a genuine question. When the ice caps melt,
Yeah.
does that make the Earth hotter?
Well, this is what that I want to get into the post show, but with Lake Mead, they're saying rainfall and the Rocky Mountains melting
Yeah.
causes the flow to the lake and the rivers. So I'm saying if all the ice pack melted, it would fill up. Like there's always ice pack up there. It's just not as much snow is falling and melting. If all the glaciers melted, we'd be flooded.
Yeah,
we wouldn't. Be,
It would be like
Kamar, it's something like 80% of the world's biggest cities are port cities. They're on.
you
they
have
would
to be on water. Yeah, yeah.
They would be underwater.
Well,
Like
no, they're
that's-
supposed to be underwater by now.
that's
to be
what-
honest with you.
That's what happens, right? Like you get an ice age, and then when that breaks, you get massive flooding.
Yeah, but
and
Kamar,
then you get the new world.
you just said it's supposed to be now. Look at Miami. Miami is flooded.
Yeah.
Miami usually has like an obscene amount of water.
And areas that will happen will become ghost towns, but some places are flooding and some places are drying out. It's just the weirdest thing. Unless all the water is just ending up in the ocean, and still, like they said, you can use that water for fountains and stuff like that, not watering grass. And let's wrap this up.
If they weren't out, if the American government was not out fighting all these proxy wars all the time, they would have plenty of money for all the failing infrastructure. All of that, the deficit comes directly from their military.
Yeah.
All of the money goes there.
You have to
And the
save yourself
scraps that
from
are
within.
left, like they could have free medical, no problem. Like I'm telling you, trillions and trillions of dollars a year to go. Like I get it. You have to have a top-notch military to make sure that your presence is known, that nobody can fuck with you. And maybe that helps you to dissuade them from fucking with somebody else, some of the smaller, less armed places. But like not at the detriment of your own people, and not when you're out fighting wars for poppy fields and fucking oil fucking, what are they, mines? No. Derricks? I don't even know. Holes? But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
all of these wars, every single one of them come with a fucking reason behind it, and it's not a righteous one, it's a economic one.
Yeah, we're gonna solve the planet.
There's just real quick. There's a video on YouTube. You can find it. It's got tons of views. It's called, I think it's like U.S. Vietnam War vet, super honest storyteller. It's like a 20-minute video. He talks about his time in Vietnam and how he's like, when I got there, it just didn't make sense. Like, why did these people hate me? I was supposed to be here liberating them. He's like, and then we started burning villages. And he's like, and I started realizing, like, first of all, you don't know. He was like, the problem was, first of all, there was no enemy. You couldn't tell who, like, it's not like World War II where it was like, we're fighting this army over here and these people are innocent and you're just fighting a ghost.
Dude, the best
think that's
scene
similar to
in
what happened in
Apocalypse
Iraq.
Now is when, what's his name shows up.
Robert Duvall.
No, the main guy there.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen shows up to like, I don't know, the battlefield. They're all fighting the front lines. He gets there and he says to one of the kids, "Who's in charge?" And the kid looks at him and goes, "Aren't you?" And then it's fucking Lord of the Flies, you know? They're all just, nobody's in charge.
Yeah, we didn't learn a darn thing.
No, but my point was, I think they did learn. The U.S. learned. They were like, these are wars we can't win, but we can dump so much bread into. And Afghanistan's perfect. We're going to fight these mountain people on their own range. They can move around because they've lived here forever. It's impossible for us to move. The way the U.S. military works is supposed to protect the U.S. military. So they don't move the way the Taliban and the Afghans move.
They
in
learn
there.
how to do what they have to do with the least amount of casualties for them. But
Yeah, but my point is they could dump, like, if you looked at the money they dumped into Afghanistan, it was like $30 billion a month of U.S. taxpayer money going into. It's nuts.
Speaking of,
So how free are you really when your government is out there
Spending your money.
spending your money to rape and pillage?
To defend
you know?
your freedom.
Like, that's not defending your
I
freedom
know I'm being
at
facetious,
all, man.
Speaking of, Joe was talking about like why
Tell
they
me I'm
would
fucking not
sacrifice
free.
in these ancient
live in a
Aztec
communist
civilizations,
I know.
and like what the idea about sacrifice was. If they're doing hallucinogenics and knew how beautiful life was, why they would kill people. Someone must have killed someone and something good happened. and you just like keep it going. What if I kill one person? It rains. Imagine we kill. It's just a weird
You
thing.
do make a good point. It's like, yeah, they found out about DMT and ayahuasca, but then they were kicking heads around for soccer balls and like killing 100,000.
Simon's got
Simon
the
doesn't
answer.
believe it.
Thank
That's
you.
what
Well,
I
no,
forgot.
I definitely.
History was written by the winners.
I definitely do believe it. I think that a lot of this history that we read about, the people kicking heads around like soccer balls, that happened, but that was the dying of that civilization. So these are people who knew that their forefathers had things that they don't have now, and they were trying to get the gods because they didn't have the information anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Do you know what I'm saying?
They had lost their way. That's why
They
they're
had lost
sacrificing.
their way. Exactly. This was the end of what was once a glorious high technology place, and now they're fucking kicking soccer balls around. No, but the same idea as everybody fighting each other, and like it probably wasn't always like that. Like I know you said that last week, but they're probably look, if your civilization gets far enough, you probably don't need to fight with everybody. There's probably a way easier
What
way
about
to do
the
things.
Native Americans have been here forever, and according to all history, all they did was fight each other.
I know,
all
but
the
we
time.
only have like 200 years of history. What about the thousands of years before that? That's what we're talking about here.
Okay, but fine. But so why you have this weird utopia where like they just started fighting out of the blue? Like
No, we just assume that because that's how this iteration has gone, that's how every iteration went. Maybe we've just convinced ourselves that human nature is to fight with each other.
No, we've watched all of nature, and all of nature fights with each other. That's all it does.
Yeah.
So we are like an extension of that, and we say
I mean, we separate ourselves from fucking the lower animals all the time.
no. Now we
because
do.
of DMT.
Now we do. But the point is
Stoned ape theory.
oh my god. Fine.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying, Matt, but like you give no credence to the fact that what we
not-
read about could be an end time instead of a time. Like, why was there?
Simon, it's not that I give
Reigns
credence. It's
so
you.
short.
You do this thing where you're like, I've made up this thing over here, and you refuse to believe it. I have no imperial
I
evidence.
didn't make it up.
So, okay, well, show me these peaceful times that you're talking about. You just made up a civilization that for thousands
It's
of
true.
years was peaceful.
Well, I mean, I have no proof of it for sure.
Well, so what I'm doing is using the little empirical evidence that we have, and I'm saying I would more likely believe the little piece of empirical evidence that we have than the
Again,
than the utopia you've made up.
I'll go back to what I said earlier. That's what humans do. We get a little tiny bit of information and then extrapolate to fit our, whatever story we're trying
I
to tell.
also know from watching people in day-to-day life that they like to fight each other, whether it's verbally, like we aren't.
Yeah, totally, because we suck for sure.
Yeah, so we've sucked for millions. We've sucked forever.
If there wasn't, okay, we fight each other like that because we want what each other has. When you break it down to the very bare essence of it all, it's because we want. But if everybody just had everything they wanted, there would be no reason to fight.
Yes, you're talking about a utopia, and that has never existed.
Again, we don't know what has existed, so we just don't know. You don't even know what you don't know. You don't even know if fucking dinosaurs built subways, man. This is what I'm saying.
You're so right. What do I know? I agree.
So hopefully
just
through
out
all
here
this
lost.
research, they will come up with even better drugs that just do whatever you want for you. No hangover, no puking, no diarrhea. Let's inevitably down the road.
So this is what we're saying. I could quit smoking and not have to puke.
yeah, you just gotta.
I just gotta wait it out a little bit.
Simon gets lung cancer, and he's like,
Oh no.
What I think was interesting
Jesus.
is the two churches he talked about that have exemption to do it.
yeah.
One is just like a Bible study, and the other one, people are dancing and singing. And I think that's strange that even though
sweet loophole.
you get the same messages or thing, there's two totally different ways to approach it. I'd rather this singing and dancing.
I don't know how the Mexican cartel hasn't started a church in California and just started shipping in tons
They
of
have.
cocaine. And I mean fucking tons.
Oh, exemption, yeah.
Clap that one out.
So yeah, I guess in closing, I think everyone should listen to this episode because it isn't just go out and do it. It's precautionary and it pump the brakes on you. Unfortunately, I forget that he's been on and I've listened to all this, but I thought it was very insightful.
I still think this was a very weird episode, and because of its weirdness, it's only going to get a 2.5 from me.
That's a whole different discussion.
I'm gonna go with the 2.5 also.
I want to give it a 3, but if I find out all this stuff was omitted, then it's a big.
I think he may be working for the CIA.
Oh, it's a big 0. So what is it? A 3 or a 0?
It's a 3.
Okay. You think he's working for the CIA?
I said it might be a possibility.
If we find out.
All right. Well, that's it.
That's the show.
No,
Keep your eyes open.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna pay a bill, and we'll be right back.